Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another Inside Edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. I'm Kip Thompson. Welcome to tonight's show. We just heard from our sponsor, Barrier Fencing Supply, out of Supply, North Carolina. Huge supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast, and we're going to roll right into the show. We got a lot of stuff to cover in a short amount of time, and we're going to welcome back to the show Series Director of the Carolina Clash Super Late Models, Joey Chapman. Joey Chapman, welcome back. Always a delight, man, to have you on our show.
Yes, sir, it is, man. It's always good to be on your show, man. You're such a delight, and I just appreciate everything that you do for us and racing in general.
Well, man, I appreciate it. And, man, let's just go ahead. I just want to jump in so quick and just start talking about this two-day event, Livonia, Georgia, and at Cherokee Speedway. But first of all, man, I just want to tell you, you and I have talked about it. We've mentioned it at racetracks that we've been at together here within the last month. I want to just take a personal moment on behalf of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast again and just congratulate the Carolina Clash on kicking off their 24th season, man. Just as soon as the 24th season for 2023 has started, man, when you guys went to Lancaster Motor Speedway and it rolls right over to Livonia, you come to Fayetteville, then you go to Livonia and then Cherokee. Man, the car count that you guys have had is phenomenal, and it just keeps growing. But more so than that, when you look at the racetracks and you look at the cars, Joey, I'm telling you, for the Carolina Clash, as long as I've been around, as long as I've been watching, man, this is probably the most competitive group right out of the gate that I've seen in the history of this series.
That's one of the things that, Mark, you and I have talked about from the get-go this year. The competition level has just been astronomical. We were sitting there starting at Fayetteville. Unfortunately, I had to miss Lancaster, but at Fayetteville and Livonia and Cherokee, when the cars were finished qualifying, we looked down the list, and you look, and there's 15 to 18 cars that are just separated by a minute amount of time, and all of them are capable of winning the race. And it just shows you what the competition level has risen to.
Well, when you say that about, you did miss the race at Lancaster Motor Speedway, but actually you and I were in the tower together inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and you guys were waiting to come on because we had the Carolina Outlaw Super Streets in front of you. And I'm sitting there looking, and I look down at you, and you look down at me with a big smile on our face. We're looking down the long driveway. Hot laps have already started. We're fixing to line up to see how fast these cars are in hot laps where we can do our support class heat racing inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And there's hauler after hauler. They just keep coming in. And, man, it was just a great show at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. Again, we will tout that is a record number of cars for the Clash at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, or anywhere for that matter. But then, man, you roll back in to Livonia and then Cherokee, and car count, yes, okay. But at Livonia Speedway Friday night, the top 18 drivers were separated by 0.6 of a second. And so when we start talking about competition, that's what I'm talking about, Joey.
Yes, sir. It's extremely close, and it just shows you how hard these individuals are working. You have to give credit to the race teams because they all have stepped up their game, whether they bought new equipment or they worked on what they had and just worked extremely hard to become faster. And it has shown. It has amazed me, over the last month at how we have kicked off the season and the car counts and the speed. And something else too, you got to give a shout out to the fans, because everywhere we've been, the racetracks have been packed. And to me, that's as big as anything, because the fans are coming out and supporting the Clash and supporting their local racetracks. And that's so important for all of us. And it's just a huge shout out to the fans. Thank you so much for the race fans that have come out to just watch some great racing, and they've been able to watch some great racing.
Well, I think one of the big deals for that, not only the Carolina Clash for so many years, as you and I have described it or named it, grassroots, blue collar, super late model racing. And, you see so many drivers that do it with their families and things of that nature. But I think these local racetracks were local to the people to where you go to when a big series like that comes, you are going to get a good turnout. And it just seems like every single track you go to, the bar gets raised a little higher and a little higher. I mean, Cherokee was absolutely packed. I mean, it looked like a Blue Gray 100 crowd there for this Stick Elliott Memorial. And I know that was a big part of it too, but you better believe they knew the names, the drivers, Kyle Strickler. I mean, big names all over, there inside the Cherokee Speedway. But when you start talking about, I want to give credit to the drivers and the teams. Now, I'm going to let you do your own little deal of, kind of recapping what happened Friday night and Saturday night. Benji Hicks, picks up a huge win for him at Livonia. But let's talk about the guy who won Saturday night, who gets caught up in a wreck, hits a lap car, tears the whole radiator out, radiator mounts, the whole nose, tears it all off. They get home at 4:30, 5 o'clock, work all day long, and then they just barely make it in time to unload to go to hot laps at Cherokee. Ben Watkins, and lo and behold, is he not the fastest car right out of the trailer, fast time qualifier, and led every single lap and just walked a dog on him at the Cherokee Speedway. And he's always going to be fast there. But you're talking about these guys put in the midnight oil, and these guys are racers, and they want to race. And it's just awesome. So let's pick up Livonia Speedway on Friday night number 1. Benji Hicks captures the win, and I'll let you do your own recap because you were there, and I was just wishing I was with you. So I'll let you make me feel like I was there. So Joey, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. I mean, we had a great turnout. It's a race that Livonia and I scheduled early on in the season. Well, Coltman Farms contacted us the week of the race, and he sponsors a lot of racers in the area. Peyton Freeman, David McCoy, and Kenny Collins are all part of his sponsorship program. And he contacted us, and he wanted to help bring some awareness to autism. And he wanted to try to do that and benefit the racers financially, contribute to the purse. And so because of what Coltman Farms was able to do, we were able to make it a 7,500 to win show. And, it was great from the get-go. Local favorite there, Brent Dixon, set fast time, started on the front row. Benji Hicks, he qualified, I think, 7th. So to come from 7th to win the race is a credit to Livonia Motor Speedway and the track and the prep that they did, because there wasn't 6 cars that fell out and allowed Benji to win. Benji won the race, but because the racetrack was very racy, had a little character to it. It was just a great night. Benji's always exciting. He's not scared to run the top side, and he was definitely banging that cushion and passed Brent Dixon on the outside for the win. And once he got out front, I mean, he checked out. Took him part of the race to kind of find the groove and maybe for his car to come in. It was the first night that the Clash went to the new National Late Model tires. So some of our guys hadn't been on that particular tire. So they had a little learning process there, but we had no issues either night because of tires. And Benji put on a great show, had fans standing on their feet, so from top to bottom. A couple of times I'd come out of the tower, it's standing room only in the grandstands. And obviously if a guy can come from 7th to win, that tells you a little bit about the racetrack. So there are no excuses that you can't race there. He proved that you can.
Yeah, that was an awesome story to hear that Benji Hicks had got that win and working that high side like that and capturing, taking the lead on that high side. I love to see somebody reach up on that top shelf and grab that cookie and ride onto the park with, you know what I mean? That was cool. So, but when you start talking about implementing that new tire rule that you guys have done, it's for everybody. It's not just one guy. It's the whole entire crew that races with the Clash. And when you talk about not having a problem, it looks like cars and teams adapted to what they had because there again, like I said, on Friday night, you had 0.6 of a second that separated the top qualifier to the 18th qualifier. It's just incredible. It is incredible. When I talk about the competition and how competitive this group is, I don't want to push away other races that I have at Fayetteville. I cannot wait to have the Carolina Clash back inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway 3 more times. And I go ahead and tell you, anyone within sound of my voice, first time ever, Halifax County Raceway, get ready for a show this weekend, my man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's where we're headed this coming weekend. Saturday night, we'll be at Halifax Motor Speedway. Michael Wells and his staff. He blew my phone up Saturday and Sunday. I think they're so excited, and we are too. So we're looking very forward to going up there and just continuing the success that we've had this year.
Well, let's jump back in. Okay, we talked about Livonia, Georgia. Then everyone loads up, heads to the racetrack your mama warned you about. Cherokee Speedway, Gaffney, South Carolina, for the Stick Elliott Memorial. The stage was set for night number 2 of the Carolina Clash weekend tour, we're going to call it. It was a weekend tour from Livonia, Georgia to Gaffney, South Carolina, Cherokee Speedway. Ben Watkins, fast time, 15:0 something. I mean, he was extremely fast, but everyone behind him was too, because there were a lot of people. I don't think, if I remember correctly, and looking at my race pass while I was there, those 24 cars that started that race, there was nobody at a 16-second or above. Everybody was below. I mean, so there again, just goes to show you repeat performance with competitive race cars, good quality race cars. I mean, Brett Ham, you're talking about, of course, the guy who wins the race, Ben Watkins, and, Willie Milliken, who's already won a Clash race this year. You've got Anthony Sanders, Johnny Persley, Jeff Smith. I mean, we could just go on and on. Multi-time champion with the series, Rambo Dennis Franklin, who shows up just in the nick of time to get on the racetrack, before you guys qualify. Adam Yarborough, who, actually was able to finish, I think, in the top 10 at Livonia, maybe finished 11th or 12th or somewhere, but it just goes to show you, drivers like that, all these people were in front. It's just, but they're so competitive. But let's talk about real quick Cherokee Speedway before we jump into Halifax this weekend.
Yes, sir. Some teams had some problems, at Livonia. Rambo, when he finished the race, his car was topless. The right side was missing, but he was able to kind of milk it through the night and finish. Had to work to the last minute Saturday just to get to Cherokee. Several teams were that way. Ben Watkins, his car owner, Wesley Page, their car was tore up so bad they contemplated not even coming Saturday. Thankfully they did, because he ended up winning the race. And but you mentioned Adam Yarborough. He broke a rear end and qualified. Didn't even get to qualify. Had to take a provisional. Came from 24th to 12th. Ended up being a hard charger of the night. And it's just another testament to these teams and how hard they work. The tire situation, no matter what gets thrown at them, they persevere and they overcome. And I've always told people I could go through the pits at these racetracks and I could get me 20 or 25 guys and we could go conquer the world, because they're that determined and motivated and they don't let things stop them. Problems are just something we've got to overcome. And that was so evident this weekend, throughout the field. And, one of the things too that I noticed this weekend, we have our staples, we have Rambo and Jeff Smith and those guys. But one of the things that I have noticed is that, we are attracting some newer. Al Henderson has ran with us quite a few times. He had. Unfortunately, he had a miscommunication on tires. He qualified well, but he had to start in the rear, so he didn't make much ground there. But Jordan Kohler, new track record at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, qualified really good at Fayetteville. At Cherokee. Had a decent finish. So. And Kirkpatrick, Zach Mitchell, all those guys were there this weekend. And it's just, it helps us have a better show, gives the fans a different look sometimes. And once again, that competition just keeps coming up.
It does. And, talking about some of those cars that were really, really turning some fast laps, man, and hot laps and qualifying, man, great part. I mean, just really, did a phenomenal job in his car. And, the list just goes on and on and on for guys who really showed out, stepped up, and looked good this weekend. So wrapping up the Cherokee Speedway for a 2-day tour, double down 2-day event for the Clash. Now we set north, I-95, Littleton, North Carolina, the little red clay bull ring. Many of you who may be watching or not know where Halifax County Raceway is, it's what used to be Clary Speedway. Everyone knows that place as Clary Speedway. It's a little bitty bull ring, and I can promise you that Littleton, North Carolina, because I've already been twice. I've had 2 experiences this year with the Carolina Clash. I had them at my home racetrack, the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. I was fortunate enough to make my way to Gaffney this weekend to hang out with Joey and Mark and Rush Limbaugh is what I like to call him when I see him. Marion Limbaugh. And a lot of the Carolina Clash drivers, man, were very welcoming to me, Joey, being down there around the pit area. But Halifax County Raceway, if you're within the sound of my voice, grab you on a seatbelt and take it with your chair and put it inside the grandstands. You're in for a show this weekend when the Clash makes their visit there, Joey. Man, this is going to be awesome. This is a different racetrack than people have been to before. It's like a huge paperclip. Forward drive will be a key. And, when you go to a place like Halifax, people still call it Clary's. It is Halifax County Raceway. You can talk about setup all you want to, but at some point, the driver's going to show up, and you guys are in for a show this weekend, Joey. I promise you, this is going to be an awesome show. I'll be at Fayetteville with the Triple Crown Mid-East deal Friday night and Saturday night. But, man, I know I can't wait. I just can't wait to see footage from you guys at Halifax.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Obviously there's some locals up there that's going to be really hard to beat. We're right here in Willie Milliken's backyard. I'm not sure who all's coming, but Michael Roush and Christian Thomas and Dustin Mitchell, all those guys in that area, they will be extremely hard to beat when you come to their turf. And but we have a group of racers who adapt very, very well. And at the end of the night, it will come down to 2 things: the guy that adapted to the conditions the best and got up on that wheel to get the job done. And that's what Benji Hicks did, in my opinion, Friday night. He got up on that wheel and decided he was going to win that race. And sometimes that's just all it comes down to, that a person decides, I'm going to do what I got to do to win the race. Within reason, obviously we don't want to run over anybody or anything like that. But he just, he got up in a groove where nobody was willing to get up to, and made it work. And Halifax is going to be one of those where the driver is going to be so important. And, I'm really looking forward to a great show there.
Well, it'll be a great show when you start talking about, you got local guys who are in the area, local guys who we're going to their turf. Well, those local guys, when a big crowd like this comes, they want to protect that turf. So you're going to see who, hey, will you, like the Under Armour deal, will you protect this house? And so, yes, Willie Milliken is really good. He lives about 15, 20 minutes away from that racetrack. Then you've got, there's another one you left out a while ago, Michael Batten. Outlaw, the 21 car, Dustin Mitchell, as you mentioned, Christian Thomas, and the list just goes on and on and on for people in that area or close or adjacent to that area that could come and run this weekend. It's going to be another balls to the wall type deal. It's going to be a heck of a show, and we wish you guys, man, the best of luck. And I want to give you another opportunity, like before we close out the show, to thank your sponsors again, man. Turkish Towing and all the guys. And I met our Fast Time Qualifier sponsor Saturday night, Miss Judy Yarborough out of Lake Norman. Judy Yarborough Realty. What a sweetheart. What a true race fan. What a mother that loves her baby boy. The other redheaded beard bandit kind of go by. But such a pleasure to meet her in person and just really see and getting to know the Carolina Clash staff. we pass and repass at Fayetteville, man. Everybody's so busy, you got everything going on. But when you learn, PJ and all the other folks that are there, that this guy does this and this guy does that, that little village that you guys, that little army, that little crew you've got, and those guys have been with you for 4, 5, 6, 10 years, for a long time, and they're like family to you guys. But they treat somebody like me and everybody else family when they're at a racetrack. So kudos to the whole entire Carolina Clash staff on just being a great organization. And you can't have a great organization, Joey, without great people. And that's exactly what you guys have in my book.
Yeah. Well, one of our dear friends, Big C, he told me a long time ago, man, by myself, I can only do so much. It takes all of us. And, we do have a great crew, been together a lot of years, and it just makes things run smooth. To some people, it might not be noticeable, but I can look around and you don't even have to tell anybody. We function very well together without really having to communicate. We understand what needs to be done, and no matter what pops up, somebody steps up. About the time you think somebody needs to take care of this, there is somebody taking care of it. And it's just it's a good way of them showing how important this is to them and how much they care about it, and it shows. So definitely we have a great crew, and we do have a great group of sponsors. Miss Judy Yarborough, she is definitely a race fan. She come from a race family. Her husband raced a lot of years, and now her son's picked up the torch and he's carrying it on. You mentioned Turkey's Towing. We have Extreme Trophies. They do a lot of trophies and plaques for us, and any racetracks that need anything like that, they do a lot of stuff for Livonia and Cherokee. Penske Race Shocks, obviously VP Racing Fuels, Hoosier Racing Tires, American Racing Tires. They've been with us a long, long time. Without all those sponsors, there's no way we could do what we do. Lee Jordan Designs over in Rock Hill, South Carolina. He does all of our swag. He does a great job, and if you need anything, he is definitely a guy to get a hold of, because he is one of the things I really love about him. He is finished when he tells you he's going to be finished. He delivers on time as promised, and that's important when you're trying to do things. So you don't get held up for whatever reason. And we appreciate everything that all of them do for us.
Well, no doubt. Great sponsors, great people who actually love racing themselves. And again, talking about, your crew, when you talk about, you think something needs to be done. And when you look, there's somebody either already taking care of it or they're already on, what you're saying needs to be done. You can tell that the folks that are with that deal, that have those Clash staff shirts, they take a little pride, man, in what they do. They take a little pride in being the best series around, and just a great, great group of folks. All of the people involved with the Carolina Clash, from Marion Limbaugh all the way down to every single person that is part of that organization. We thank you for what all of you guys do, man, for the sport of racing that we all love, and great, we just can't wait to see you guys back at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. But yet again, wishing you a big, big, huge success this weekend, man, at Halifax County Raceway. I know it's going to be a good one. And thank you, Joey, man, for taking time this afternoon and this evening to be on our show. Man, we always enjoy having you guys here with us. And we look forward, man, to seeing you again soon. Sometime next week early, we'll talk about what happened at Halifax County Raceway.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. And don't forget, we're coming back to your house next month. We will be there with bells on. So we look forward to that. We'll have a couple of weeks off after Halifax, and then we'll go to Lawrence, and then we'll come back to Fayetteville in the month of May.
Well, make sure that you do one favor for me before you come back to Fayetteville Motor Speedway. We've talked about all the people that work with the Clash Series. There's a special lady who sits under the tent. She's the merchandise lady. She goes by Miss Chapman. Let her know that the ball is rolling. We will have Voice of Victory Lane podcast swag available for her in t-shirt form and a hoodie in the color of her request when you guys come back to Fayetteville. Okay. As long as my print guy don't let me down, okay?
I hear you. Yes, sir, man. She'll appreciate that. Yes, sir. She saw those ones you had on, and she said, man, I've got to have one of those. I said, we'll make it happen.
Well,
I appreciate it.
All right, not a problem. Folks, that's Joey Chapman. He is the series director of the Carolina Clash Super Late Model Dirt Series. Had a great 2-day show, back-to-back nights, Livonia Speedway, Cherokee Speedway this past weekend, and now their eyes are set to go I-95 North, Littleton, North Carolina, Halifax County Raceway. We'll do a race recap next week, again with Joey Chapman, to let you guys know how it all unfolds this weekend inside Littleton, North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. As we close out tonight's show, we're going to hear from another sponsor, Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Tony and Bobby Jackson, proud supporters of our podcast. Hey, and as always, when we close out every single show, be on the lookout. We could be coming to a racetrack near you, and you could be who we're talking about next right here on our show. Thanks again for watching. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Give us a like, share, subscribe. Hey, and get out and support a racetrack somewhere this weekend. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody. Tonight's show is being brought to you in part by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We cater any event, big or small, groups of 30 people or more, weddings, holiday events, or festivals. Call us today, 910-237-4565. Contact us by email at jackson.bobby@yahoo.com. Follow us on Facebook at Raging Rooster Catering. We invite you to come get you some. Raging Rooster Catering, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast.